Hello everyone, my name is MJ Vilches, and right now I will be sharing to you how I did this. This is just a simple lightsaber model with a really nice rig, which helps you animate a lightsaber, even the motion blur effect of the light. So I'm just gonna show you how the rig looks. So yeah, looks like this. As you can see, it's the rig. There's how you move the handle, and this curved ones right here moves the motion blur effect. So yeah, after this tutorial, you'll learn how to do this, from modeling to rigging to setting up custom shapes for the bones. So yeah, let's do this. So yeah, the first thing you need to do is open Blender, of course. And yeah, I'm using Blender version 2.82a as of the making of this tutorial. And yeah, also since I want to make the tutorial beginner friendly, I'm gonna be using select with left click, and I am used to selecting with right click. So throughout the tutorial you might see me doing this while trying to select, which brings out the right click select menu. So yeah, sorry about that in advance. Anyways, let's go and make a simple lightsaber rig. So the first thing we need to do is to, no matter how painful it is for me to do it, delete the default cube. Anyways, I delete the default. I'm also gonna delete the light, we don't need it. So yeah, now with the default cube out of the way, we are going to add a cylinder. To do that, you have to press Shift A to bring out this menu right here of the stuff that you can add in the viewport. So yeah, as you can see, there's actually lots of stuff that you can add, but for the lightsaber, we only need a cylinder. And yeah, before doing anything else, we first need to head over here, because if you try to move the cylinder or click something else, this settings will be lost forever. This is only for the initial setup of the cylinder, because later on we can just edit the cylinder. You know, it can just edit our mesh object in edit mode easily without having to do this. So yeah, just to initially set it up so that it's easier to like model or edit the mesh later. Anyways, first thing we're gonna change is the vertices right here. We only need about 12. Don't need that many, because we can use a modifier. More of that later. Also in the radius, I need it to be about 0.25, just so that it would have that radius of a lightsaber. And also for the depth, which is how long the lightsaber. This is just for the handle, by the way. I'm just gonna set it 2.5. So yeah, that should be enough right there. And the last thing we're gonna do for our lightsaber here is to change the cap fill type to triangle fan. That's for the cap right here. You'll see that later on. But yeah, since we're done with the initial setup of the lightsaber here, we can now close these settings. And yeah, selecting a mesh, there's actually a lot of modes while trying to while modeling or editing or doing something with your mesh. And those different modes can be seen right here. Right now we're in object mode, and there's edit mode for when we want to edit our mesh object and want to add more details to it. Sculpt mode, if you want to do some sculpting. Vertex paint to paint it, just to give it a temporary paint, I guess. But I'm not really using vertex paint that much. I might in the future, which is I'm going to share to you once I do. Yeah, weight paint. That's mostly for adding some vertex groups and for doing some armature, for weight painting the armature into the mesh, which you'll see later while we're rigging. And next will be texture paint. So yeah, now we have our initial basic shape of the cylinder. We are going to go to edit mode, which you can do by going here and then selecting edit mode or pressing tab. So this is object mode, tab into edit mode. So this is what triangle fan looks like right here. Because if it's an n-gon, and I'm just gonna delete this one vertex on the middle. If it's n-gon, it will look like this. And we don't want that. I don't want the top part and the bottom part to be an n-gon, so we're just gonna Control Z that and bring back our triangle fan. So yeah, this is our basic lightsaber. Now we're going to add some details to it, and I'm not really gonna make this like a very nice lightsaber. It's just going to be a simple lightsaber. Kind of looks like our example from before. And yeah, the important thing Another important thing is to save your work. So I actually made another lightsaber rig Blender 5 here. I'm just gonna save it over that. So yeah, just pick a folder and rename it if you want. I'm just gonna save it over here. It's red because it's going to save over this blend file, which is fine for me. And so yeah, this is also one of the things that you have to be careful while modeling, especially when saving a backup. You don't want to be saving it over an existing Blender file that is still important to you. But in this case, this is not important to me anymore, so I'm just gonna save it over that one. So yeah, we've saved our file. Blender will notify you once you do that, and there's going to be a lot of Control S's happening in this one because of habit, and I'm just Control S'ing a lot. Which is actually driven by the fact that I have encountered a lot of problems before because I didn't save, and you're probably gonna encounter that if you want to keep on working on CG, regardless of what software you're using. If you're working on anything in a computer, not saving could ruin your whole life. That's an exaggeration, but it could happen. Anyways, let's add some details to this. So the first detail I'm going to add is just add some nice little detail on the bottom here. So I'm gonna do that by adding one edge loop here. You can do that, by the way, by pressing Ctrl R, and then this yellow line will come out. That's gonna indicate where you're gonna put the new edge loop. If you move around your mesh, you can see that it's moving everywhere, which tells you that if you this is me without clicking anything, just pressing Ctrl R, and then that will come out, and just moving around my mouse before confirming it. This is just telling you where it will put the edge loop before you confirm it by pressing left click. So we don't want that right there. So I added one in the middle right here. Then I'm gonna Ctrl R again, and to add more edge loop, I'm just gonna press one of the numbers here on my keyboard, and I want to add 3 edge loop, so I'm gonna press 3. So Ctrl R, 3 is probably not enough. I'm gonna Ctrl R again. To cancel, by the way, just press right click. So yeah, that method is actually applicable even if you're right click selecting. So for this tutorial, I'm doing the left click, but usually I use right click. So yeah, Ctrl R, I'm gonna add 4 here, and then confirm. Now we have I'm just checking here. To select an edge loop, all you have to do is Alt Shift and then select, and then left click select to select the whole edge loop around it. So I'm just checking here whether or not this is good for us, and I think that it is. And we are just gonna have like two faces here going inwards. So I think that would be enough. So what we're gonna do, I'm gonna go here. Right now, I guess this is a perfect opportunity to tell you about vertices. So in Blender, you can select the mesh by its vertex points, which are vertices right here. 1 is a vertex, 2 or more vertices. So you can select the mesh in edit mode by vertex or by edges right here. These are the edges, or by its face. Those are the face. So yeah, these are one of the terms or things that you're gonna encounter in every tutorial or anything that you do in Blender or CG or 3D, I guess. So you can select by the mesh's edges, or its faces, or its vertex or vertices. And yeah, we're gonna be switching around each of those depending on what we need. And right now we need to select our mesh's faces, part of the mesh's faces. I'm gonna try to Alt Shift select this edge loop right here, this one edge loop right here, and also this one right here. And what we're gonna do is we are going to extrude these faces inwards. So yeah, extruding is basically just taking a face and then press E, and then you extrude it. You like pull it outwards like this. It's like creating new faces to give you this kind of extrusion thing. So I'm just gonna Control Z that. We don't need that. Well, that's what we're gonna do right here. I'm just gonna Alt Shift select this faces right here and this one right here as well. I'm gonna press E, and that will extrude it, and then S to scale it, and then Shift Z to scale it inwards without scaling into the z-axis, which is scaling it up or down. So now that's how you can do, that's how you I'm just scaling it inwards to have that nice little detail on the bottom of the lightsaber. And I think this detail is too big. We're going to have to do this again. So I'm just gonna control Z up to the point where we cannot control Z anymore. So yeah, I'm just gonna add more to it because apparently it's not enough. So to delete this edge loop right here, I'm just gonna select one edge loop, X. X means to delete anything. You can delete either vertices, the edges, the faces, but for now you want to delete the edge loop so that it won't delete this face right here. Because if you select vertex, it just removes the whole thing right there without leaving any faces. So we don't want that. We want it to leave faces. So I'm just gonna delete the edge loops right here because I wanna make the details smaller. So again, Control R. I'm going to try 5 may be enough. And yeah, this will work. So again, go to the face select, Alt Shift select the faces, E to extrude, S to scale, Shift Z so it doesn't scale on the Z axis. So I'm just gonna scale it right about there. And yeah, one of the basics actually that I should have told you about before, but you're gonna just encounter it later on. But yeah, in Blender, S to scale, make something bigger or smaller, G to move, and R to rotate. So yeah, that's just simple one of the navigation stuff that it's just gonna end up being like a muscle memory for you once you've entered the world of Blender. So yeah, we have now that nice little detail there. The next thing I'm gonna add is the one on the top. So I'm just gonna Control R and then confirm it, pressing left click, and then before doing anything else, again, I'm gonna move it. So in adding edge loop, there's actually a lot of different status. So Control R, that means it's Blender's telling you where it's putting the edge loop. Confirm it once to tell Blender that okay, you want it there, and then it's not confirmed yet actually, because Blender now asks you if it's fine to put it right on the middle or you want to move it somewhere else. So the first confirmation from this is to confirm the edge loop. It's right there now. And then the next one would be, where do you want it? So I want it right here. So there's two confirmations when adding edge loops using Control R. So I added one right there. I'm gonna add another one, and then let's move it right there. So we are probably gonna end up moving around edge loops later on just to make our lightsaber look nicer. So I'm gonna go to face select again. I'm gonna Shift Alt select this one, E, S, Shift Z to scale it inwards without scaling it, scaling on the Z axis. You can do it like this or like that, but we want it to be inside, just like our lightsaber from before. So yeah, this is the basic part of our lightsaber. So yeah, to smoothen our lightsaber, we are going to press W. Actually W is for right click select. Sorry about that. No, you don't press W if you have left click select. To bring out the menu, you just have to right click. So you actually have to tab. I actually tabbed into object mode for that to happen, by the way, because it would be different if you right click on the edit mode, tab into it. The right click menus on edit mode and object mode will be different. So yeah, I've tabbed into object mode to bring out this menu, and we want to select shade smooth so that our lightsaber is smooth. So right now it doesn't look good, and don't worry, we are gonna be fixing that real soon. But yeah, that's how you make it you know, smooth. And to make it look nice, we're going to have to jump back into edit mode, tab into edit mode. And the first thing we need to do is I'm going to go here into the modifier properties, and then select add modifier, and then I'm going to add subdivision surface. So I'm going to select edge select right here so that we can bring back the basic shape of the lightsaber. So we're going to do that by going to edge select and then selecting these edges right here. Alt shift select. I'm also going to alt shift select right here, and then this one as well. Alt shift select this, and that one, and that one, and this one, and finally this one. So what we're going to do is we're going to be beveling this edge. You can do that by pressing Control E on the keyboard or going right here, edge, and then select bevel edges, or you can just, you know, Control B. And this line will come out which tells you that you are in bevel edge mode. So yeah, Control B. You can either, you know, Control B and then drag to add a bevel. You can see right there it's changing. It's doing some changes right off the bat. You can either do this and then kind of estimate how you want it, or you can do Control B, enter it, this settings, the setting will come out, and then you can, you know, you can change it through here, this offset. So this is how I want to do it, so that I can like input some number here and then see how I want it. So yeah, this is one of the methods of doing this. So I just want to bevel those part right there. I don't want it to be that big, so it's 0.015 might do the trick, or maybe smaller, 0.005. 0.005 is enough, I guess. And to make this part straight right here, I'm going to add edge loops. So I'm gonna press Control R, 2, and then confirm it, and then confirm it again, and S, Z to scale it on the Z axis, just so it straightens out right like this. I'm also gonna do that right here. Control R here, Control R right there. I'm gonna select those edges. I'm selecting using right click again. And then S Shift Z so that it scales on the X and Y but not on the Z axis. So yeah, that looks nice. I'm also gonna add more edge loops right here. 2, Z, just to give it more curves right there. I don't need this edge loop right here, so I'm just gonna get rid of that. I don't want to add too much. This one as well, and then I'm gonna add another one just so they're even, you know. So replacing this, I'm just replacing them with more even edge loop, so I can just add again. That's probably too fast for you. Control R, 2, confirm it, and then S, scale it on the Z axis. S, then Z. So yeah, we're also gonna do that right here. S, 2, scale it on the Z axis. Just about like that should do. I'm gonna turn on X-ray right here. Toggle X-ray so that you can see the edge loops from behind the mesh. I'm just gonna check whether they're distanced properly from stuff right there. I'm gonna untoggle that. So I'm gonna add edge loops right here again. Actually later. Let's do that later so that everything is nice and even. I'm gonna do it right here as well. I'm just trying to estimate that. Now I'm going to add the edge loop right here. Control R, confirm, Control R, confirm, Control R, confirm, and then I'm gonna select those. And then S Shift Z so that it doesn't. And there we go. I'm also gonna add 2 more right here. And right here, as well. And that should do it. You're already seeing our lightsaber. Just a simple model. Just for our beginners to be able to handle Blender without doing the complicated stuff yet. There's a lot of other, tutorials in YouTube, by the way, on more complicated looking lightsaber. If you want that tutorial, you can always, watch it. But if you do wanna, just want a basic one, we have it right here. So yeah, that's it for the basic shape. Now to add a bit more detail. So we are going to add like the, wait, I'm just gonna open a reference here. Our reference. Right here. This is what we're gonna do. So we need to, I want to add this details right here, those bolt things. So to do that, we are going to tab into edit mode again. I'm going to select, let's go to front view. And then I'm going to select this edge right here. Right clicking again. And select this edge. I'm going to press numpad period so it focuses on this edge. So that when I rotate, as you can see, it's focusing right there. So I'm just focused right there. This edge is selected. I'm gonna go in edit mode again. You don't want to do this in object mode because it's going to end up adding another object, another mesh object. So we are going to do it in edit mode so that it adds the object inside the existing object. So yeah, I'm just gonna add a circle right here. Oops, sorry about that. That's not what I want to do. So selecting the edge right here in edit mode, I'm gonna press Shift S, bringing out this options right here. I'm gonna select cursor to selected, so it brings our 3D cursor, which is this red circle, this white and red circle right here. That indicates where you can use this to determine where to tell Blender where to add a new object, or to you can use that cursor to in a lot of stuff that you're gonna end up discovering while you're using Blender. So yeah, for now we're using the cursor to tell Blender that we're going to add an object right here. So I did that by doing Shift S. I moved the cursor right in the middle of whatever it is that's selected, which is this edge right here. So now that the cursor is right there, we're going to add. We're going to press Shift A to add a circle, and I'm only gonna set this circle. I'm only gonna give this circle 8 vertices. So as you saw, once you added the object, the settings will come out. You have to set stuff right here first before editing on Blender, and then you can do the rest of the editing there in edit mode. So yeah, now we have a circle with 8 vertices right here. We are going to scale that just about the size that would fit right here, to just the size of a bolt that would fit right on the faces of right on this area of our lightsaber. So I'm gonna press R, X, 90, R to rotate, X so that it rotates on the X axis, and then 90 or 90 to rotate it on the X axis at 90 degrees, to rotate it 90 degrees on the X axis. So yeah, once you've done that, you click confirm or press enter. So yeah, now we have our circle right here. We are going to edit it so that it would take the shape of a bolt thingy. Just a simple one, not very complicated. So I'm just gonna move it inside the mesh right there. I'm gonna press E to extrude. So yeah, I'm just Control Z. I'm just gonna show you that it's inside the mesh by toggling the X-ray here. So yeah, it's right there. It's not gone. We're gonna press E again and then press Y so that it extrudes along the Y axis, which is where our circle is facing. So depending on which axis our circle is facing, or your object is facing, if you want to extrude it to that direction, you're gonna want to press. You have to know which direction it's facing in order to extrude it the right way. So yeah, I'm just gonna extrude Y, so it extrudes on the Y axis, and then confirm. Just go back into non-X-ray mode, and then bring back the shade smooth. So yeah, now that it's extruded the way we want, I'm going to scale it a bit. I'm gonna bring it back some right here, and then extrude another edge loop, and then scale again, just until you get that, you know, that circle, that spherical dome-like shape right here. So just gonna do that. E again, S, and then what I'm gonna do is I'm going to merge all of the vertex right at that point. So if we're gonna go to vertex select mode, you can see that those are the vertices that are selected. I'm gonna press Alt M. That's a shortcut for merge. You can also do that right here in vertex, and then merge vertices right here. And what we're gonna do is want to merge it right in the middle of everyone right here. So if you selected this, the middle would be, you know, right there, and Blender would know that. So you just have to Alt M, merge, or go here, vertex, merge, and merge at center. So it merges at the center of whatever it is that's selected. So I'm just gonna adjust it by moving stuff, by pressing G. So yeah, now we have one of the bolts. So to duplicate that, I'm going to put the cursor right in the middle of this thing again. So I'm gonna select this edge loops right here. I'm gonna Shift S, cursor to selected. Now it puts this 3D cursor right in the middle, right there. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna press period on your keyboard, not the numpad, and I'm gonna change it to 3D cursor so that Blender will now move, rotate, or scale your whatever it is you're selected along the cursor right here. So if I rotate, as you can see, it's rotating using the 3D cursor as the pivot point or the rotating point. So that's going to be useful because what we're going to do is we're going to select this, Control L to select what's link, do that vertex, and then I'm going to go to the top view by pressing numpad 7, and then let me just toggle X-ray right here, or no, it makes things confusing. So yeah, I'm selected this object right here, just this object. I'm gonna press Shift plus D to duplicate it. As you can see, I made another copy, but I'm not gonna move it. Just press Shift D, don't do anything. Shift D, confirm it, and then while the duplicate is selected, I'm gonna press R90, and what it did is, you know, it placed our duplicate right 90 degrees about right here. So we're gonna do it again until we have all four. So Shift D, R90, Shift D, enter to confirm, R90. And now we have our 4 bolts right here. So for the bottom part, we don't need to do the whole thing again. All we need to do is just select everything right here. Control L, go to the front view, Shift D, confirm. Oh no, don't do that. Shift D. Sorry about that. So Shift D, and then press Z so that it moves to the Z axis. And then we're just gonna move it down here, and then confirm. And now we have those stuff right there. So I'm gonna just press to the front view again. The last thing we're gonna add is the button to turn on or off our lightsaber. Which is, you know, you don't really need to put it right there, but just so we have a bit more detail, I'm just gonna add one that right there by just, you know, selecting one of the bolts right here and then duplicating it and then moving it downwards. And we are going to bring back, and so that our it doesn't rotate or scale or you know, move around our 3D cursor anymore. We're going to bring it back by pressing period on the keyboard and then selecting median point. Median point is, you know, the middle point of whatever it is that's selected. There's many different options right here, so just feel free to experiment on those ones. But the most of the stuff that I use is just 3D cursor and then median point. It's really situational basis. Every time you use, you use this 3 right here. But most of the stuff that I end up using are this two, just this two. So yeah, I'm just gonna scale it right here. The button. I'm just gonna move it around so it's nicely positioned right here, and we're done. This is basically what our lightsaber. Oh no, not done. Sorry about that. The last thing we need to add is those. Let me just show you the reference again. Next thing we're gonna add are those two right there at the top. And it's pretty easy actually. All we need to do is to just, select this edge loop right here. So like, what am I doing? Oh, there we go. Alt, Shift, Select. I'm gonna Shift D. I'm gonna scale it down a bit. I'm gonna bring it down inside, and then I'm gonna extrude to the Z-axis and drag. And that should be good. Let me just adjust it a bit more. And I'm gonna Control L to select everything, and then E, S, Shift Z, so that I could scale it inwards like this, and then W, and then wait, what's happening here? And then what I'm gonna do is first I'm gonna change the focus of our viewport right here, so that numpad period, so that the viewport makes this as the point of interest, I guess. So I'm just gonna control L this for a while. I'm gonna bring it back up here so that I can remove the faces right here. Faces. X faces, so that it removes the faces at the bottom there. Because we don't really need it. We only need the faces right up here. So Control L that again. I'm gonna bring it back down. And then we are going to do the. I'm gonna smoothen it out. We're going to we're tabbing into edit mode. Object mode. Right click and then shade smooth. And we're gonna just add one edge loop outside and inside. And I'm gonna select both of them. And both of them are selected. And then just moving them upwards like that. And we're gonna Control L again, select everything. Shift D, S, Shift Z for the inner thingy. Now I'm not an expert in lightsaber craftsmanship, whatever. So I don't know if it's important for lightsabers to have stuff like this. If you're a Star Wars fan, I do hope you're not offended by any of this, by how not knowledgeable I am. But yeah, I actually saw I think I recall something about lightsabers having something like this for when, the Kyber, I forgot what it is, but I'm pretty sure a lightsaber is made with a Kyber crystal or something. And this is what focuses the energy to turn it into into a lightsaber, a sword. I'm not an expert again, so I'm not sure. So yeah, our lightsaber is complete. We have a nice and simple lightsaber model. The next thing we're going to do is going to model the laser part, the sword part, the blade part. So why do I have a circle? So you see, this stuff doesn't happen on a right click select. So I'm not sure. Anyways, we're gonna keep going. I'm sorry. I'm used to right click select. Anyways, now we have our basic lightsaber. So the last thing we need to do to finish the modeling phase of this process is to model our lightsaber light blade thingy. I don't know what it's called. I'm sorry, Star Wars lovers out there. So yeah, we can just do that by selecting this edge loop right here. Shift D to duplicate it. I'm gonna scale it a bit right there inwards. I'm gonna bring it down so it's hidden inside our lightsaber, and then I'm gonna press E to extrude it, and then Z to extrude it upwards. So now, as you can see, we are extruding upwards our lightsaber blade. So I'm just gonna G, Z, keep going, G, Z, confirm, keep going. I'm just gonna try and estimate how long it will be. So yeah, that's it. And then for the top, we just need to do what we did with the bolt thingy. So I'm just gonna extrude that, scale it down some, extrude again, scale, extrude again, Z, and then Alt M to merge it at center. And I'm gonna add another edge loop. Actually, I'm gonna Control R and then move it upwards so that we don't have that curve. So that we can maintain a straight line along the body of the blade right there. So just gonna try and do this, and there we go. We have our lightsaber model. I'm gonna go to object mode. So yeah, the lightsaber is probably too long. Just gonna, oopsie. So in order to move that, we're just gonna have to select the point right here, and then Control numpad plus to select the edge loops from that point. You can do that, or you can toggle X-ray, tab into edit mode, go to the front view, and then B to select everything right here. You can do this or the one that I just showed you. So yeah, now we have our basic lightsaber model. I'm actually do a shade smooth this. I'm gonna select that. Right click, shade smooth. So yeah, we have our basic lightsaber model. Now we are going to give it a nice shader or material. And to do that, we are going to head over to the shading workspace. So there are different workspaces already available in Blender. So we're just gonna move over to shading workspace. So the first thing we are going to do is to add a shader for our handle right here. So you have just an existing material here, which is what we're going to use. Just gonna select that. It has a principled BSDF node already set up, which is what we need to create the silvery metallic part of our lightsaber, which is what we're gonna name it. So we can name it by pressing this and then editing that, or double clicking here, and we're going to write metal silver. I guess that will be the name, and then we are going to try and make a silver metallic material, like probably this one. And it's actually easier with principled BSDF. So in order to get that metallic, look, we just have to bump up the metallic to 1. So already you can see a nice metallic material right there. And to make it even more metallic, just drop the roughness down a bit. Maybe 0.25 will do for this. And yeah, that's about it. I'm gonna reduce the specularity as well, so it's not that speculated. And that's about it. That's our metal shader. Now for the other parts of the lightsaber, we're going to make another material for that. New, and I'm gonna call it metal _ black. And we are going to make sure that it is applied on the right parts. And do that, we're going to tab into edit mode. And then actually I'm going to add just a little bit of detail here by pressing Control R. Just gonna add this so that it's easy to select that part. Also here. So I'm just gonna select those middle parts right here by Alt Shift selecting it, and then using Control numpad plus to select like just the inner part right there. So Control numpad plus, Select that right there, and when those are selected, to assign this shader just on those part, select them first, and then make sure that the right material is selected. And then if you're sure that you selected the right material for this parts, we are going to click assign. And what that did is, well, assigned this material into those selected parts of the mesh. So I think that's looking nice. We're also gonna apply that material on top right here. So yeah, we're just gonna hide some of our part of our mesh here that we don't need, like the lightsaber blade. I'm gonna select one vertex and then Control L, select everything, and I'm gonna press H to hide it. H stands for hide. And I'm also gonna do that. Actually, I'm gonna apply the material first for this too. I'm just gonna Control L, select them, and I'll press numpad period just to focus the viewport on this part, so that when I do this, it rotates around, and the viewport, rotates around the selected. And then since they're selected, I'm just gonna assign them black material, which we're gonna change to black later. I'm just gonna select all of the stuff that needs that material first before editing the color. So yeah, just select the vertex right on the middle right there, and then Control numpad plus, and then assign. Actually, I probably need another one. Assign. And there we go. And now we can edit the black material. So just have to go to the base color right here actually, and then just bring it down to the black color right there. And then I'm gonna increase the roughness so that it's not that metallic. It's one of those not shiny metals, I guess. So 0.75, or it could be not a metal. I'm gonna reduce the specularity so it's not too shiny. 0.05 will do, I guess. Yeah, and there we go. That works. That works for me. So yeah, the saber blade is actually just hidden for edit mode. So in order to bring it back, just press Alt and then H. And the last shader that we need to add is for our lightsaber blade, which is going to have like a simple emission shader. So we're gonna add another material by going in the material properties, press the plus button, and then new, and then lightsaber blade. I'm not sure if there's a proper term for this. I'm really sorry. And yeah, we are going to delete in the selecting lightsaber blade. We're going to select the principal BSDF and then X to get rid of it. We don't need it because what we need is an emission shader. And to add an emission shader, just like everything else in Blender, to add something, you just press Shift plus A and go to the shader and then emission. Just position it properly right there, and I'm gonna connect it to the surface. And then I'm going to apply that on the lightsaber blade. Select a vertex, Control L, and then assign. And I'm gonna increase the brightness by about 50. And then I'm gonna go over to the render properties right here. I'm gonna turn on blue, and you'll see magic. See it already. It looks nice. And to change the color, well, right here. Just have to change it to the famous blue shade of a Jedi sword, or a green, or a purple, or red for Sith. But we don't want to go to the dark side, so we're gonna stick with the blue. So here we go. Our lightsaber model is nice and ready. That's all of it for the shading part. Now we're going to add a rig to it. And to do that, we're going to go back to the layout workspace right here. So back on our layout workspace, and this circle is really bothering me. I don't know how to get rid of it. I don't usually encounter it when I am on the right click select What is this? Is this? No, it's not C. Huh. I think I know. I'm gonna T. And I guess this is it. Yeah. Yep. Select circle. It's probably everything that is inside the circle will be selected. That's probably what it is. And then I'm just prolonging. I'm just, click. Just click this to bring it out actually. And then I'm gonna change it to tweak so that it's the normal one. You can actually choose lasso to select everything through a lasso, but we're gonna go with the normal one. So yeah, that's how you get rid of that annoying circle if it ever comes out. I think the shortcut for it is shift spacebar C. That's why it went out, or W to cycle it. That's why I don't encounter it in right-click select, because in right-click select, W brings out these options right here. So we're just gonna use the this one, the tweak. It's called tweak. So yeah, now we are going to move on to rigging our lightsaber so that we can animate it the way we want, easier without having to set up anything. So yeah, the rig for the lightsaber doesn't use shape keys. For any experienced users who are watching this, we're not gonna be using shape keys for that. It's all just the rig, which is how I like it, because I don't want to have to set up drivers for the shape keys. And also, there's no limit to the amount of deformation that we can do for the lightsaber. So yeah, now we are going to start our rigging of the lightsaber. So we have to make sure that the cursor is at the world origin. So Shift plus S, world origin. So it's already there. Snap there. So now we're going to add one bone by pressing Shift A, and then heading over to armature, and then single bone. And then you can't see it because it's inside our mesh there. But if you toggle X-ray, it's right there. You can see. But we want to see it even when, X-ray is not toggled. So to do that, we're going to head over to our object data properties right here, and head over to the viewport display right here, and then check in front. As you can see, it's right there. Now we are going to edit it. We're going to add more bones and just edit our bone. And for the bones, there's actually 3 modes. There's object mode, edit mode, and post mode. Post mode is what we're going to use for when we want to animate the bones or for weight painting later. Edit mode is for adding more bones. And object mode is just to select, them as objects in the viewport. We're going to be using edit mode and post mode more later on, once we've set up our bones. But yeah, now we have one single bone. We are going to tab into edit mode, or we can change the mode by going here. I'm going to make the cursor the median point again. So I'm going to press Shift S. I'm going to press period on the keyboard, and then 3D cursor. I'm going to press R to rotate the bone 90 degrees. Or, no, not 90 degrees. I'm going to rotate it 180 degrees so that it faces down like that. So we don't want our bone to be crooked like that, so I'm just going to press Shift N to recalculate the bone roll. The bone roll is this actually. You press Ctrl R by changing it manually, but we want to change it so that it follows proper axes. So yeah, now it's straight again. By pressing Shift N and I'm selecting global Z axis, so that I'm just going to show the axis here. I want the Z axis to be pointing. Yeah, I guess that works. I'm going to turn off that again. So yeah, this bone is going to be our main bone. The bone that will be moving all of our lightsaber. So I'm just going to edit it like this so that it follows the size of the lightsaber. And then I'm going to rename it by pressing F2, or you can head over to the bone properties right here and rename it right here. F2 is easier though, so we're going to do that. And I'm going to call it main bone. Main. So yeah, that's our first bone that's going to control every other bones that will be influencing our lightsaber. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to Shift A in edit mode still to add another bone, and then I'm gonna select it, and then the main bone, Control P, keep offset. They're not connected, which is what I want, because if you can actually do this also by selecting like the bottom part of our main bone here and then pressing extrude to extrude a different bone. That's not what I want to do. I want to create another one, just so we start fresh. So this is going to be influencing the handle, which is basically what's gonna influence all of the lightsaber. But the importance of this is that we can still move the lightsaber later on, even if this is moved. So I always want to have like a main. It's like a rule of thumb, I think, in rigging, to have like a one main bone to control everything. So yeah, this is going to be the controller for the handle. The handle will be parented on this, all of the bone. But yeah, we're just gonna set up the bones, and that will be clear later on once we've proceeded to parenting the mesh to the bone. Yeah, this is the handle bone, so I'm gonna rename it as such. Call it handle. So we have a handle bone right there. And the next thing I'm gonna do is I'm going to add the bones that will influence the blade. So we are actually, for that we actually need 2 bones. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna Shift D this bone right here, duplicate it, and to make the bones look nicer for a lightsaber here, I'm going to change it. I'm gonna go to the viewport display, and I'm gonna change display as B bone, so that it's easier to see. So I'm just gonna select the handle bone again. I'm gonna press Alt S, Control Alt S to scale it down some, so the main bone will remain like that. And I'm also gonna Control Alt S this so that it's not that thick. And I'm gonna be changing the pivot point again to the median point. So I'm gonna select this on the blade part right there. Select this, and I'm just gonna be moving it G, Z on the x-axis until it goes right on the top, right there. I'm gonna turn on X-ray for this because we're not seeing it anymore. And then I'm just gonna turn up X-ray here so that we can see the mesh more. So we're just gonna make sure that it covers all of the front part of our lightsaber here. And then I'm gonna be duplicating that, Shift D Y, so that it moves in the Y-axis. I'm just gonna move it back right here. So these 2 bones are what's gonna make that motion blur effect that you saw from before. This is what's going to make that happen. So now that we have that set up, these are the bones that would deform our lightsaber. I'm going to add another one. I'm just gonna select this right here, this part right here. This is the top part of our handle bone. Actually, we need to rename this to first. F2 blade front, and then blade F2 first, blade back, and then yes, blade front and blade back, which will make the motion blur effect possible. So now we're going to add another bone right here. We're pressing E, Z, E, extrude, and then Z to x-axis, which will add another bone right on top of this handle bone, because I actually need this bone to be parented on our handle bone, connected to it, as you can see, as opposed to this. Our handle bone is parented to the main bone, but it is not connected. So yeah, we are going to call this bone F2 blade direction, blade underscore direction, which will indicate the direction where the blade will be facing. And you'll know what the purpose of this later. So I'm also going to add another bone. Shift the Y, moving it to the Y axis. This bone will be controlling the saber blade bone for the motion blur effect later. I'm just gonna select that. I'm gonna move it upwards so that it rotates right here. So I'm gonna control tab to post mode. So yeah, I'm gonna parent this to the hand, to the base blade direction. I'm just gonna hide the blade for now because it's getting in the way. Select this. I'm gonna select this first. I'm gonna select this bone, and then I'm gonna press Control P and then keep offset so that it's parented to the bone. So that's actually what you do when parenting stuff in Blender. You select first the child, and then select the parent next. So when you press Control P, it means that you parent the child to the parent, which is going to be the one that was selected last. So you can do that with multiple objects as well. So I'm gonna Shift D, Y, move this one right here, and since it's already parented, I don't have to do that again. So we're just gonna rename this blade motion front, blade, the other one blade motion back. So now we can Alt H and show our bone right here. So one of the other thing we need to do, I'm gonna select this two right here, this two circle, which is the top of each bone right there. I'm gonna select both of them. I'm gonna be not gonna be moving that. I'm just gonna press E and then extrude it a little bit. And this is what we're gonna use to influence the blade bones so that it shrinks or stretches down, which you'll see later on. You'll see the point of this later on. I'm just gonna select this bone, and I'm gonna make sure that this is parented to the one at the bottom right here. So we're gonna hide the blade bones for now. Hide that. I'm gonna select this. Let's rename it first. F2. I'm gonna make that blade front retract. Blade back retract. Retract. So yeah, I'm gonna select blade retract front, blade front retract, and then select this other bone just below it, and I'm gonna parent it to this bone. So I'm gonna keep offset, make sure that's parented to this, so that when I move this, it's parented to the thing right there. So yeah, gotta make sure that that's still right. By the way, I'm doing this on the front and the back of the lightsaber, not the left and the right. That's important, that it's front and the back, so that it's not that confusing when you're animating later on. So I gotta make sure that these two have equal distance. I'm gonna Alt H. I'm just gonna edit the distance here so that they're equal. Kinda equal. Actually, we'll do that for both. GY. And now I'm going to hide them again so that they don't obstruct the view. So I'm just gonna select this again and then parent it to this one. Control P, keep offset. And then the last bone that we need to add is the one that will control both of these bones. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna select both of the bone, and then I'm gonna shift S cursor to selected, so that the cursor is moved right in the middle of this two. And then I'm gonna go Shift A to add the last bone that we need for our lightsaber. So just gonna adjust it properly. I'm gonna make sure that this is parented to our handle, to this one, the blade direction. So now if you like check in post mode, if we move the whole saber, it moves like everything, nothing's left out, good. And then if you move this, it should move the ones at the top as well. That's important for later. And if you move the handle, you'll be moving everything. Actually, I need to parent this to the handle as well. So I'm just gonna out-pitch that. I'm gonna parent it to this one, right here. Control P, keep offset, so that they're not connected. Yeah, that's about it for the bones, for setting up of bones. Now we are going to add modifiers for the bones so that it's properly influenced. First, I'm going to select the main bone. I'm going to head over to the bone properties. I'm going to uncheck deform so that it doesn't have any influence on our mesh. Same goes for this guys right here. I'm going to uncheck deform. Okay, tab, post mode. These two circles right here are on the way. That's from the blade mesh, so I can't select it. So I'm just gonna uncheck deform. And same goes for this one right here. I'm gonna uncheck deform. And also all the bone that is on the top right here. This shouldn't have any influence on the bone, because you'll find out later why. So yeah, now that those are unchecked, next thing we need to do is to add modifiers for our blade bone. So to do that, we are going to select this first, because I want this to influence this bone to make it stretch. So I'm just gonna select that, and I'm gonna select the blade bone. Control Shift C to add a constraint, a bone constraint, actually, not a modifier. Or you can go to the bone constraints properties right here, but it's easier to do it using Control Shift C so that everything is set up right away. I'm gonna select first the bone that you don't want to add a constraint on, and then the bone that will have the constraint. Control Shift C, and then stretch to. I'm going to add the stretch to constraint. So what it does is that when I move this, it stretches the blade, or the bone that is connected to it. So that's important for later, because this is what's going to retract our lightsaber. So another thing I'm going to add for this is I'm going to add bone constraint. I'm going to add a limit location so that it doesn't like move around, because that's not what we want. We just want it to stay where. Actually, we don't want to add bone constraints on that one, because that's gonna be more influenced by this one, which is where the constraint is going to be added. So I'm just gonna select this. Actually, we're going to add that later. We're just gonna make sure that we copy what we did here to these guys right here. So again, select the first one, and then the blade, Control Shift C, stretch 2. So now both of these bones have influence to this blade bones right there. So as you can see, it will retract a lightsaber. Another thing that we need to edit actually is select the bone that has the constraint, and I'm going to make sure that the volume is not scaled in anything. So I'm going to just select none. So as you can see, this doesn't have the volume. This has the volume set to none, and this has the volume selected to XZ. So, and as you can see, if I move it down, this bone, kind of expands on the X and Z axis when I do this, and well, this doesn't expand anywhere. So we don't want this to happen, because then the lightsaber will also like bloat or something. So we're just gonna set it to none, so that that happens. So I'm just gonna Alt G this, so it goes back to its default location, and this will be controlling both of this. And we're not gonna be parenting both these bones to this, because these bones are already parented to the ones right here, and that's gonna make sure that, as you can see, that's the purpose why it's parented, so that when we want the motion blur effect, to take effect later. But in order to make this to copy the transformation properties of this one, well, we're gonna do that using bone constraints. So what we're gonna do is select first this bone, and then the bone is going to be the child. So like this, and then select the bone that will have the constraint, Control-Shift-C. I'm gonna add copy transforms, and it snaps right into this other one, because right now it's copying its location in a world space, and we don't want that. We want the space to be in the local space of the bone. So now, as you can see, it copies the local space, and that's about it. We also need to do that for the second one. Control-Shift-C, copy transforms, make sure that it's in local space. And now it's copying this bone, and now we are going to put limits to this bone so that it doesn't move around, making our lightsaber like. I mean, if you want to have that kind of effect, you can have it. But if you don't want to accidentally do this to your lightsaber, which means this blade will go like that, if you don't want that, let's add a limit to it. Or if you don't want it to be too long and hit an airplane, that's a corridor digital video reference right there. If you don't want that to be too long, let's just add a limit to it. You can either add a limit or not, but for this one, I'm going to add a limit. So I'm going to limit the location. X. This is the X location of our bone. We don't want it to move that way, so I'm just gonna check this so that it doesn't move on the X-axis. You can see now it doesn't move. We're also gonna do that on the Y. The Y-axis should be this one, and then the Z-axis. Now we don't want it to move on the Z-axis as well. Actually, we need to make sure that the convert is on local space for that to happen. So now it doesn't move on the Z-axis and the X-axis. It will move on the Y-axis. So depending on the orientation of the bone, the axis changes. But if you followed everything that I did, the orientation should be the same as how it is in mine. So the next thing we're going to do is we have to limit how long the lightsaber will be. To do that, we just have to check maximum, and now it won't move any further upwards, just downwards. We also need to put a limit to this, actually, so that it doesn't, like, our lightsaber doesn't go all the way down. So to do that, I'm just gonna move it right when it retracts. Actually, there's another thing I need. We actually need to make sure that the blade right here, this two right here, should be right inside our lightsaber. So this should be like where our lightsaber blade, the bottom of our lightsaber blade should be right below this line right here, because that's what's inside. That makes sure that it's inside our lightsaber. So I'm just gonna do that quickly. And make sure to reset the stretch to constraint as well, because this will happen. It kind of does this. You just have to reset it to fix it. So yeah, now that that's inside, we are going to add the limit again. So I'm just gonna move it down until it is inside our lightsaber right there. And I'm gonna press N, and I'm just gonna get this, because that's how, Blender's telling you that this is at this location right now. So I'm just gonna copy that, Control C, and then I'm gonna check minimum Y right here in our limit location constraint, and I'm gonna Control V. So now our lightsabers, now it's limited up to that point. The minimum Y location is up to that point, so it doesn't go any further down. and ruin your lightsaber. So I'm also gonna check for transform so that when you're animating, it doesn't go beyond. You know, if you uncheck this, it keeps going. As you can see here, even if it's not moving, the location information keeps going. So in order for that to not happen, you have to check for transform so that even if you move further down, it doesn't also change the information location of the bone. That's important because later when animating, it's gonna affect the animation later on because you're not gonna be able to time it right because you don't know that even if it's right there. And for Blender, this bone is actually right here if you didn't check for transform. So yeah, we're done setting up the constraints. The next thing we need to do is to parent our lightsaber. And to do that, we are going to tab back into, and then we have to select first the mesh, and then select the bone, and then Control P. Now we can do with automatic weights, but I don't want to do that because I want to manually, add weight paints on the bone. So we're not going to do this. This will add like automatic weights on the bones. And for this one, I don't want to do it. So I'm just going to go select with empty groups. So now the bone is parented, the mesh is parented to the bone, but the bone won't have an effect, but it already set up our vertex groups that we need. So to really parent the bone, to have to really parent the mesh to the bone, to have the bone influence the mesh, we are going to assign the vertex groups to the bones. So in order to do that, we are going to select first the bone, then the mesh, and then Control Tab to weight paint mode. So in weight paint mode, it turns our mesh to blue, which indicates that our mesh is not parented to anything. And you'll see it like this. Since our mesh is not parented to the bone, there's no weights. To indicate that there's weight to the bone and to the mesh, that indicates that the mesh is influenced by something. Let's say I selected the handle bone, so I want the handle bone to influence the handle. So you can just make sure that this is a draw, and then you can click on it, and as you can see, it adds weight to it. Weight painting. We're weight painting right now. And yeah, to make this easier, we just have to head over to vertex group, to the object data properties of our mesh right here. Make sure that handle is selected here, and I'm gonna tab into edit mode, and then I'm gonna select all of the handle. Control L. Make sure I select everything right here. Also this guy and this guy. Oh, and I'm selecting with the right click again. So yeah, that's all part of the handle. And everything's selected. After everything is selected, head over to the object data properties again, under vertex group, and then click assign. It's like in the material. So now, if we tab back to weight paint mode, everything is red, which means everything is influenced by our handle bone. So as you can see, it's now moving. Now we are going to, the next thing we're going to do is parent the laser blade. So in order to do that, and actually before that, this is a perfect time to clarify to you one thing. There's only 3 vertex groups, and that's because we set these bones to not deform our mesh. That's why you only added the vertex groups for our other bones. So yeah, that was the purpose of like disabling deform right here. So the others doesn't have the deform check, so they don't influence our bones, which is important because we don't want them to influence our bones, only the ones that we want to. So yeah, that was the purpose of it. So now we are going to head back to weight paint mode. Make sure that you select the rig first, and then the mesh, and control tab to weight paint. So yeah, now we are going to parent or add weights to our blade, the blade part of our lightsaber. So in order to do that, we are going to select these 2 bones for the blade, shift left click them, and then I'm gonna go to the paint mask selection, face selection masking for painting. And then I'm gonna tab into edit mode. Actually, I'm just gonna select our one vertex here, Control L, and if we tab to weight paint mode, it's selected all of our blade mesh. So you'll see it right here, all blade mesh are selected, all the others are not. And with those selected, and with those conditions met, we can now go press weights right here, and then assign automatic from bones. And then what it does is it added weight paints to our mesh. So you can, if we try to move the main bone right now, oh no, not that. I'm gonna tab back into edit mode, and we can tab to post mode. If we move it right now, as you can see, our lightsaber is moving, and if we do this, that happens, which it's not supposed to happen. We're going to need to do a lot more weight painting than I thought. So if that happens, if it looks crap, well, we just have to go back to weight paint mode. So select the rig again, and then weight paint. Let's see, I'm gonna select this bone. I'm gonna make sure that, so I've selected, I'm going to hide the rest of the bones, for the rest of the part of the lightsaber for now. So Control L here, select everything, and then Control I to invert the selection. And I'm gonna hide all of that because we don't need that. We don't want to accidentally weight paint them over to our saber blade right there. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make sure that everything is selected right here, the other half of the lightsaber. And then I'm gonna go to the vertex group. I'm gonna assign that 100%, and I'm gonna Control I and remove it. So that means that makes it so that the blade front bone influences this, just the front of the blade. And I'm gonna select like the middle part right there, and I'm just gonna assign that to the blade front, about 0.5%. Same goes for blade back. I'm gonna assign that 5%, and then I'm gonna select the back part of the saber blade again. You select the middle part right there, and I'm gonna assign it 100%. So now our bones are parented nicely. Actually, Control I. I'm gonna make sure that that's removed. This part is removed for the blade back. So now our front bone is influencing the front part of our blade, all of it, and our back blade back bone, I'm gonna Alt A, our blade back bone is influencing the back part. So that's important because now finally we have that motion blur effect. I'm just gonna do this. If you do this, as you can see, there we go. And to like have that arc for the motion blur is actually simple. Just have to go to the modifier settings here and make sure that in the armature modifier, let's just check preserve volume. As you can see, it preserves the arc. So now you can Alt R, Alt G, by the way, to reset the position of the bones in post mode. If you do that in edit mode, you're doomed because it's gonna be difficult to put it back. Control Z will help if you moved it recently. But yeah, make sure that if you're trying to test things, you move the bones in post mode, not in edit mode. So I'm gonna go back to edit mode, post mode of the bone, and since those are set up as well, if we go down, our laser blade also retracts. So I'm just gonna go to the shader so that you will see that boom, we have a nice lightsaber rig. So at this point, our lightsaber is actually already rigged nicely. So There's the track, the lightsaber tracks, and it's also got the motion blur effect. So yeah, the next part is to add custom shapes to the bone so that we can easily see it when we're animating. So we're just gonna go back to our viewport shading. This is the we're going to go back to our solid view. This is the material preview and the rendered preview. So there are bones that we don't need to add custom shapes with, just like this blade bones right here. So what we're gonna do is just gonna move it to a different layer and hide it so that it doesn't obstruct the view. And you can do that by pressing M, by the way, selecting the bones, pressing M, and then move it to a different layer. And you can see those layers right here in the object data properties of the armature. So actually, we need to rename the armature as well. Call it Lightsaber underscore rig. We also need to hide this. We don't need this as well. So yeah, those are the only bones that we need to manipulate her lightsaber right here. So yeah, we are going to start adding a custom shape for this bone, the main bone. So in order to do that, I'm going to make sure that the cursor is right on its origin. So cursor to selected. Each bone's got a different origin, and the origin is usually the bottom part of it, the one that's connected to the parent bone. So we actually also don't want this to move, so we're going to have to add a constraint to it. Limit location. We don't want it to move at all, so I'm just gonna change this to local space for transform and check everything so that you can't move it. And you can do that to the other one as well. Local space for transform and check everything. 0. Doesn't move, it only rotates. Yeah, now we're going to add custom shapes for each of them. So first, the main bone. So make sure that the cursor is right on the origin of that bone. So cursor selected, and I'm gonna tab into object mode, and I'm going to shift A to add a circle, and I'm also going to make sure I'm also gonna turn on the visibility. I'm gonna display the axis of the object. So as you can see, the axes are displayed. We know where the X, Y, and Z axis of the bone now, of the object now. We're also going to do that for the armature. And I'm gonna be heading over to the object data properties of the armature and viewport display and then axes. So as you can see, we need the axis information of the main bone right here. So its axis is right here. Y is pointing downward, X is pointing on the X-axis, and Z pointing that way. So we need, in order for the custom shape to work properly, we need this mesh right here, which is going to be the basis of the shape. This is what we'll use for the custom shape of this bone. We need to match the axis of this object to the axis of the bone. So that's what we're going to do right now. So I'm just going to go R, rotate it on the X-axis 90 degrees, negative 90 degrees, so that Y points down. We're going to lower the X-ray for now. So right now, Y points down, X goes that way, Z goes that way, just like our bone. Y goes down, Z that way, X that way, and now we're good. So what I'm gonna do actually is I'm gonna X this because I don't want the bone's the main custom shape to have that less vertex. So what we're gonna do is actually keep that. I'm gonna RX90 to bring it back. And then I'm just gonna add subdivision surface to this so that it's more rotated, and add more, and I'm just gonna apply so that it's nice and circular. So now I can turn off the axis, and now I can apply this shape as the shape, or as that's how this bone will be displayed. So to do that, selecting the bone on post mode. In post mode, I change to post mode. I'm gonna head over to the bone properties, and then I'm gonna go to the viewport display. I'm gonna check wireframe, and then actually, in order for us to find it properly, we're going to have to rename this first. F2 to rename it. F2, and rename it as CS main. CS stands for custom shape. And I'm gonna select the bone again. Control tab. Post mode, select the bone. Go to the bone properties. Viewport display. Check wireframe, and we are going to select CS main. And now, there it is. I'm also gonna uncheck the bone size so that it copies the actual size of our object. So if we select Control tab to like our CS main mesh, the bone also follows it. So yeah, can't really see it because it's right under there, but yeah, the bone also follows as we edit. If we want to edit the custom shape further. So yeah, now we have to select the bone, Control tab, and as you can see, our main bone is now a circle. Now we are going to do the same thing with the handle, but with different shape. So to do that, once again, Shift S. I'm gonna set the cursor to the selected, which is this bone. Make sure that you know where the axis is pointing. So Z right there, X, Y, and then we're gonna tab back out. I'm gonna Shift A. I'm gonna add a plane. I'm gonna turn on axes. So Y is right there. So Y should be pointing upwards. R, X, and 0. And now our Y should be pointing upwards for the mesh. Just like our bone. So I'm just gonna edit it now as X. I'm just gonna shape it the way I want it to look for our handle here. So yeah, everything's nice. I'm just gonna Shift D this to RZ90. So now we have this this kind of shape for our handle. Now we're going to apply it to our bone. So I'm gonna select the bone again. I'm just gonna turn out X-ray again. Select the bone again, Control tab, make sure the handle is selected, go to bone properties, viewport display, check wireframe, and I forgot to rename this thing, so we're gonna do that. CS underscore handle. So I'm gonna go back there, viewport display, CS handle, and then uncheck bone size, so it copies the size of the mesh. So there we go. A custom shape for the handle. Now I'm just gonna go and probably time lapse the rest. So yeah, now we are done. So I'm just gonna turn off axes, display axes right here. And also for our custom shape meshes, I'm going to select everything right here. And shift select that. I'm just gonna move them to a different collection. New collection. Hide. Okay. And I'm gonna uncheck hide so that we don't see it. It's hidden. So yeah. And yeah, as you can see right now, our lightsaber rig is done. We move the handle right here, Yeah, the zoom, and then once that does, does this motion blur, zing, and then zoom goes back once it stopped, and then once you're done using the lightsaber, it retracts. Yep, sound effects are essential. And yeah, I guess one of the things that we need to add is make sure this is black if you wanted to follow the reference. But you can just change the mesh down here to any kind of lightsaber design that you want. Lightsaber design. So yeah, it's like we're gonna go back there. Wait, that's wrong. It's like this. And then so yeah, the direction. Its purpose is that if you want to like motion blur, and then your lightsaber kind of moves differently, like that way, or you move while moving the lightsaber that way. You can just do this so that the direction of the motion blur also changes. That's the purpose of that, this blade direction. Because sometimes you move when you use lightsaber, I guess you also move it that ways. So the blade direction is actually going that ways, even though the handle is pointing at the front. So yeah, that's it. That's it for our lightsaber rig. It's pretty easy, simple. If you're an experienced Blender user, you can already guess how I did it. But just by watching this, without any of the beginner explanation, you can already get it. And if you're a beginner, you'd have already made a nice lightsaber in Blender. So yeah, hopefully you were able to do that by following this tutorial. So yeah, that's all. Thanks for watching. My name is MJ Vilches, and yeah, I need to go back to the production caverns to finish an animation.